Hello and welcome to your messages for the month of July 2024. These are your messages for the month coming up. And if you haven't already seen the messages for the month of June, just so that you can see what energies we're coming from, the link is in the description, video in the end screen, because that was all about stillness and reflection leading to divine action. So I guess the divine action's happening in July, but we will find out. Also, the messages for this week, the first week of July, was super powerful and interesting as well. I hope you can hear me clearly because I don't have my microphone again. So I'm going to remember to speak slowly and clearly. So the first week of July that we're in, today is Monday, the 1st of July. The messages for this week, I used the fairy tarot for a change, and the three cards that came up were major arcana cards. And there was the Unity, which is the Hierophant, and there was the Release card, which is equivalent to the Death card in Rider-Waite. And the last card was the Sun. And I think, one of the reasons I was led to that deck is because of the importance of the Unity side, because Unity doesn't really come into the interpretation of the Hierophant that much in Rider-Waite. It's more traditional stuff. So there was a little message there about unity. And also, of course, using the word release instead of death card also reminds us that we're actually releasing something that isn't serving us. It's not so scary, is it? The fairy tarot are not so scary. But we know that the death card is about transformation. In fact, it's the card in tarot that has the greatest capacity for transformation. So it's kind of exciting to have three major arcana cards coming up for this week. Understanding unity, understanding traditional values, understanding spiritual lessons, because that's all in the Hierophant, releasing something that isn't serving us, experiencing massive transformation, and the third card being the Sun, which is the light, which is the most positive card in tarot. So they were amazing cards for this first week of July. I'll put a link in the description and the video in the end screen to this week's as well, because I think all these energies are relevant and important, aren't they? So what else is happening in July? The garden retreat is just kind of slowing down for summer. We've only got 3 events in July and one online event, of course, my Tarot and Beyond. Check out the link to my website. The details are all on there if you want to join us for Tarot and Beyond. A tarot reading for the group, followed by a deep dive into the spiritual lessons, the guidance, the wisdom, all of that comes up, and taking a deep dive into that and applying it and integrating it and observing it playing out in our everyday life. I think that's really important. So let's take a deep breath down to the belly. Feel the diaphragm expanding, feel the rib cage expanding, and feel yourself expanding, and that card wanted to come out. I like that. So face down. If you're new to my channel, welcome. This is how I work, face down. If you're not new to my channel, welcome back. Wow, now they're getting chatty. Let's see what's going on in July. Okay, we've got 5 cards. They're face down. I don't know what they are. Let's dive in. Here we go. We are moving on. We are moving on into calmer waters. Yes, of course. I'm sure that's the case. The energies have been intense. There's been a lot of purging going on. There's been a lot of, when the light comes in, the darkness comes out, right? So there's been a lot of stuff coming up to be observed, to be acknowledged, to be released, however you want to view it. This is the moving on card. And it does literally mean in the physical, of course, moving on, moving house. So you could be moving location. You could be just spending time. It's a summer, so you could be moving to spend some summertime in another place. It can also be moving from one country to another, of course. I see a lot of that going on. But also everything is multidimensional, right? So moving on can also be moving on emotionally. You've maybe resolved some hurt and heartache from a previous event in your life, and maybe you've learned to forgive or transmute or release those trapped emotions. So moving on emotionally to a more loving, more self-loving, maybe a more self-mastered state of being emotionally. Swords, of course, are mental processes. They represent air, which represents the mental processes. So your thoughts, your beliefs, ideas, inspiration, things like that. So, of course, this is also moving on mentally. So we understand the importance of mindset. We understand the importance of beliefs. We know that we are creating our reality through our beliefs. We're creating our reality through our perception of our reality and how we respond or react to that perception. So yeah, moving on mentally to another level of understanding is really important. And of course, that would also be multidimensionally taking us to the soul level. Because of course, when our soul moves on, it's evolving. This is the evolution of the soul, isn't it? So yeah, there's a shift in the evolution of our soul, and together a shift in humanity's evolution, which which is great, because of course change is the only constant, and we don't want to get stuck, do we? And there's so many of us working in bringing that level of consciousness to that Christ level of consciousness, heaven on earth level of consciousness, bringing it through us into the physical realm, creating physical version of heaven on earth. So wow, wow, wow. That's all encouraging, isn't it? Yes, we are the fortune. It's our destiny to do this. This is where we came here, to help raise the consciousness level of humanity at this time of the Great Awakening, shifting from one age to another, moving into the age of Aquarius, and the more humanitarian, more sovereign, more self-loving, creating societies that are governed by love and kindness. Um, yeah, it's our destiny to do that. So this is a really powerful card. I always think this wheel shows something like it could be your profile on Gene Keys, or it could be your astrological birth chart. I always think of the soul profiles as well that I offer, in anything like that, which helps you realize more about who you really are and what you're doing here, what you came here to do, your purpose in this lifetime. So there's always a little message there to follow whichever self-realization tool resonates with you the most. Or you can fill your boots with all of them. Then you've got human design. There's so many others. So the gene keys actually has evolved from human design. And the ones that I've been interested in, I can see an overlap between self-realization tools and the soul profiles that I offer. So it doesn't matter which one you take, but it's about understanding and learning more about who you really are and what you're doing here. So it's your destiny. And of course, your destiny is the free will of your higher self. There's a little energy here of surrendering to your soul chose a path, and surrendering to that path is really powerful. It might be difficult to actually do, because you've got to get your human with all of its programming out of the way. But surrendering to your divinity, surrendering to your destiny, because your soul has already chosen the path. It's already kind of pre-orchestrated. Everything's happening in the now moment, you see. And so your soul has chosen a path, and you will light up. You will expand with excitement and joy and love at the things that your soul wants you to do, which is how your soul has worked to get you to go in that direction. It's almost like, well, let's make it really fun so that they want to do more of whatever it is they're meant to be doing. So usually your destiny, which brings your abundance, right? Your abundance comes when you follow your destiny, and joy, love, fulfillment, happiness, everything, all your abundance and everything comes when you follow your destiny. And the only thing stopping us from following our destiny is our pre-programming. So it is about releasing. That's what the release was probably about for this week, releasing that pre-programming so that we can listen to the guidance of our higher self, and follow that path, without questioning it, because, it's our questioning, this path, like reading tarot, 10 years ago, I would have been, I'm not doing that. And I would have had a belief that I couldn't support myself doing that, all sorts of programming, doing videos. I would never have dreamt of doing that either. I would have had a million limiting beliefs behind why I shouldn't or wouldn't or couldn't do videos on YouTube. It really is about getting that out of the way and just following the joy. Follow the joy. That's what I want to say. Follow the joy, because your soul has created the human experience for you in such a way that what it wants you to do is going to bring you the most joy, the most love, and the most abundance. So why would you argue with that? Definitely. Look, we've got the Justice card. So these are two major arcans, right? So this is brilliant. The Justice card is you reap what you sow. You reap what you sow with choice and consequence. And he's got the scales which show the balance, and just kind of having that balance of um, of of understanding where you're coming from. I want to say this quote from Paul Selig. He channels the guides. I know who I am in truth. I know what I am in truth. I know how I serve in truth. And the reason, the connection with the balance is, I think that when you understand you're a multidimensional being, you want to balance all of those dimensions within your human experience. So it's like understanding the physical and looking after the physical, obviously, understanding the emotional, looking after the emotional, understanding the mental, looking after the mental, understanding the soul's desires, nurturing the soul, and understanding the importance of doing that. And then understanding the balance between all four of them, the balance between looking after your soul and looking after your body and looking after your emotions. And there's lots of activities that do that. I mean, yoga has to come to mind, of course, because the whole concept of yoga is that union between the mind, body, and soul, and having that beautiful balance. So you're constantly creating that beautiful balance between looking after all of your energy bodies, if that makes sense. And the sword, of course, those beliefs. We had the swords here, didn't we? But the sword shows communication, and the swords upright show justice and divine truth. I want to say divine truth, because the justice is really about divine truth and understanding that there is a divine truth within you. And are you following that divine truth? Are you being authentic? And are you following that path that's coming through you? Or are you still being influenced by the programming that says you need to live in a certain way, do a certain job, be a certain person? This is all about you understanding the importance of listening to your own inner divine truth. And here's an example of somebody who hasn't been listening to their divine truth. So, it's going to come up. These are the limiting beliefs. And the castle in tarot represents your goals in life. And of course, your goals in life, which are also your destiny. Your goals in life, not your human programmed goals. You have to have a big house, you have to have a big car, you have to have big family or small family, this kind of family, that kind of family. these are human programmings. You have to have a job with a good title. You have to make a certain amount of money. You can't live happily if you're, in a mobile home. I don't know, whatever programming that you've had. Um, that is those goals, that come from achieving certificates and awards and all of this kind of thing. I mean, if they're your goals, I mean, sometimes they could be divine, I guess, but I think our real goals in life are to follow our destiny and to create that level of joy and that level of abundance that comes innately through listening to our higher self and following that destiny. And she's not listening at all, and she's got herself completely trapped. She can't see how she can live this life of freedom. She's probably got, I don't know, a mortgage, and then she's tied to the job, and then, she can't see what's going on. If she was to downsize, live in a mobile home, she could probably free herself. I know that's not the answer. I was just using it as an example. But yes, she's actually creating her own entrapment. She's kind of trapped. You could even say she's trapped in the matrix here because she's on like a hamster wheel and she can't see how she can get out. So the advice for me I would give for the last card is giving me advice. The last card is Major Arcana and it's the High Priestess. And she's the most intuitive card in the deck. She's the most psychic, the most spiritual. She represents Pisces, which is the most spiritual zodiac sign. So she's rising above the duality. Here we have the duality of the third dimension, and she's rising above it to her divine abundance. So really what this girl needs to learn is to follow that guidance, follow the spiritual guidance, follow her intuition, follow her heart, and do what she wants. It's scary. We know it's scary. But it's got to be better than this, hasn't it? It's got to be better than this. So she's really just entrapping herself. So one of the main things, I mean, how do you jump from this to this? I mean, that is a good question. I mean, how do you jump from this? And there are so many ways, obviously. I'm going to say raising your frequency and expanding into higher levels of consciousness. There's obviously so many ways that you can do that. I can't talk about them all now in one video, but I will refer you, if you're asking that question, to my Lessons in Awakening on this channel, this YouTube channel. The Lessons in Awakening, there's quite a few of them now. They really help you understand yourself as a multidimensional being and things that you can do to raise your frequency. There's self-healing techniques as well. It's all free content there on the YouTube channel. Also, my first book, Heal Yourself to Happiness, is free to download in PDF form from my website. Links are all in the description. And my second book, Heal Your Soul, which is what this bit was about, your divine truth, about what your soul really wants you to do and nurturing your soul. There's a link in the description to that as well, which is available on Amazon, unless you are local to Pago, and then you can pop into the Garden Tree to get a signed copy. But there's all this information about how to raise your frequency, simple energy healing techniques that you can use every day, and nurturing your soul, the importance and power of nurturing your soul, which is what she needs to do, understanding that this power is within her. It's within her. What's actually we're releasing, of course, is the beliefs that she can't do what she wants. Beliefs that say that she hasn't got enough money, she hasn't got enough time, and a lot of it that we need to release is our expectations of how we thought our life should be, because perhaps your destiny is taking you along a path that isn't the one that your parents expected you and that you were programmed to follow. It's probably a path that even in your most, liberating times haven't imagined. But it's time now to dip into your divine truth and actually find out, what is it my soul wants me to do? What is it my soul wants me to do? Because when we don't listen to our soul, this is how we feel. So it's really moving on to what your soul wants you to do. That's what we're doing in July. We're moving on to what our soul wants us to do. So how do we can feel that? What does that mean? It means feeling that I call them truth bumps, but some people call them goosebumps. Sometimes when you hear something, you'll get a feeling that tells you, oh, that's resonated. It's resonated with you. It's almost like the universe is telling you, heed that. It happened to me when before I set up the garden retreat, before I knew about setting up the garden retreat, I was just looking for a space that I could use to do massage and yoga and stuff. And I couldn't build anything in the garden because there's no planning permission and it's quite overlooked. And I was sitting in somebody else's tent with the lovely Liz Nagel. And if you don't know Liz, check out Self Mastery with Liz in my channel. And we were just sitting in there admiring our friend's tent. And Liz just said to me, you've got to get yourself a tent. It's not something I had ever thought about. But when she said it, I had this feeling, this energy that just flowed through me and gave me the greatest truth bumps I've felt for a long time. And it wasn't, my response wasn't like, oh, that's a good idea. My response was more a realization that it was something I had to do. It wasn't so much like, oh, yeah, I'm inspired. No, I had a download of realization that that's what I had to do. It was like, you have to do it. And so I did it. And I didn't even know at the time why I had to do it, but I did it. And the garden retreat was born. So this is what I'm calling divine truth. This is how you know that you're tapping in to your destiny. Is these truth bumps. You can feel it. It's a resonance. It's an energy that flows through you that is talking to you. It's the divine talking to you and saying, yes, heed this advice, heed this information, follow this guidance, even if it doesn't make sense to you at the time, because it's nurturing your soul and it's taking you to your destiny, which is an expression of your divine truth. And in that process, we do have to release, I know I talk a lot about living in a mobile home and being able to experience more freedom because of, there's no mortgage, no rent, and that's where you kind of get freed up. But it is also scary. I actually had to release quite a lot of grief and shame. I was in my 50s living in a mobile home, and there was a big program part of me that thought that that wasn't the definition of success. And I remember feeling really quite a lot of shame when people came round. I was quite embarrassed because there was this belief that, it's not successful. You're not living in abundance. I had all of that. So I had to kind of release it. Everyone that comes around now, I mean, the amount of people that come around to the garden retreat and say, oh my God, I'd love something like this. I'd love a little place on a piece of land and, the freedom that comes with it and the feeling of abundance. Remember that abundance is a frequency that comes from within us. It's not something that can be measured by our materialistic possessions outside of us. Abundance is a feeling that comes within, So it is about releasing a lot of these emotions and these beliefs that we have. Yeah, I mean, it's all. I'm always gobsmacked at the amount of limiting beliefs that we have and the depth in which they go. It's still an ongoing process. I will put a link in the description to how to detach thoughts. It's one of the lessons in awakening that I mentioned earlier on, the lessons in awakening, how to detach from your thoughts. Because she needs to detach from her thinking, right? It's her own thinking that has trapped her. It's her own thinking. So yeah, I'll put a link into that video. I think it's very relevant for this month. Excuse me. But look at this. So we've got 5 cards, and 3 of them are major arcana. And basically it's saying, follow your destiny. You have an opportunity to move in some way, okay? Whether it's physically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually, you're moving on to another stage of your evolution, following your destiny, expressing your divine truth, which is your destiny. Yeah. And just we've got to release this programming that tells us anything other than, love. Okay. Because she is the most psychic card in the deck, as I said, the High Priestess. She has her fears tethered at her feet. She's reading the scriptures, if you look at, so she's really studying. She's studying how we create our reality. I have a video on that as well in the Lessons in Awakening. But she's studying maybe the Kabbalah, or she's studying the 7 Hermetic principles. She's studying the natural laws of the universe. The universe is governed by frequency. It's actually governed by mental frequency. So understanding all of this, I mean, she's really studying all of this. And obviously she's following her heart. She's living in this abundance as well. So yeah, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful card, isn't it? So yeah, wow. So yeah, July is about touching base with who you really are. What does your soul want you to know? Yeah. What path does your soul want you to follow? Yeah, it's about tapping into your soul's desires. Tap into your soul's desires. Yeah, definitely. Wow. Beautiful one, beautiful one. I'll be interested to know what some of these limiting beliefs are. I'm already thinking about which ones I need to release. I'm sure there are many. So lots of love to you all. Thank you for getting to the end of the video. Have a fantastic July, and I will see you in the next video for the messages for the coming week. Love you all. Bye.